If you've just been diagnosed with PCOS, or as it's now being called, PMOS, the first thing you need to know is that it's a condition that can be reversed. And I didn't misspeak. Not managed, it's not something you're stuck with, it can be reversed. Because at its core, it's a metabolic condition driven by insulin resistance. And insulin resistance responds to the right inputs. And the second thing I want you to know is that while the path is straightforward doesn't always mean easy. There are diet and lifestyle changes that matter a lot, and I am going to touch on this. But today I specifically want to talk about 3 supplements that have strong research behind them for this condition, and that I've seen make a real difference for clients. Because supplements on top of an already good foundation accelerate results. Now, I've worked with many clients with PMOS and insulin resistance. I have helped numerous clients reverse these conditions, and I've talked about the full mechanism behind why insulin resistance causes PMOS in previous videos. I'll link one up above now. And this video builds directly on my previous one. We're gonna start by talking about why PMOS is a metabolic condition and what lifestyle foundation looks like. And then we'll get into the 3 best supplements you can take. PCOS was recently renamed PMOS. And this new name finally reflects what's actually happening. This isn't primarily an ovarian problem. It's a metabolic and endocrine one. The cysts are a downstream symptom of chronically high insulin, driving elevated androgens, which disrupt ovulation. Fix the insulin, your hormones balance, your period becomes regular, and PMOS will reverse. So before we talk about supplements, we need to talk about the foundation, because this has to be in place. Supplements work best when they're sitting on top of something, not doing the heavy lifting alone. And I'm not talking about a restrictive diet here. Yes, reducing carbs is an effective strategy, but you don't have to cut them out entirely. You just have to be smart about them. Focus on whole food carbohydrates. Eat them with protein and fat. And this will have a very different insulin response to refined carbohydrates eaten in isolation. The goal is to reduce your insulin load throughout the day. You don't have to be perfect. Insulin isn't the enemy, it is important. But lowering your insulin improves insulin sensitivity, and that's ultimately what's going to reverse PMOS. Movement also matters here, specifically because muscle is your primary glucose disposal tissue. More muscle means better insulin sensitivity, independent of diet. Resistance training 2 to 3 times per week. That's the most targeted intervention here. Sleep and cortisol management is another non-negotiable. Cortisol raises blood sugar. And for women with PMOS whose hormonal system is already under stress, chronic elevated cortisol makes everything harder to shift. If you're exhausted and running on stress, supplements aren't going to help. They're not going to be enough to move the needle. Okay, so now with the foundation in place, let's get into the 3 best supplements you can take. Starting off strong with the one that has the most research behind it, berberine. Berberine activates an enzyme called AMPK, which is essentially your body's master metabolic switch. When AMPK is activated, glucose uptake improves, fat burning increases, and insulin sensitivity improves. It works in a similar pathway to metformin, which is one of the most commonly prescribed medications for PMOS. There are head-to-head studies between berberine and metformin, showing that berberine works just as well for blood sugar and insulin markers. For PMOS specifically, research has shown that berberine can reduce testosterone levels, improve menstrual regularity, and improve ovulation rates alongside its metabolic effects. And that combination of metabolic and hormonal benefits is extremely relevant here. So if there's one supplement you're gonna take, make it berberine. Here's how to use it. Take 200 to 500 milligrams 1 to 3 times per day, ideally before meals, so it can blunt the post-meal blood sugar and insulin response. I'd start on the lower end and work your way up. But one important note here is that berberine isn't meant to be taken indefinitely. It's a tool for the transition period, when you're building the dietary and lifestyle habits that will ultimately do the work for you. If the foundations are in place, you shouldn't need berberine forever. Taking it for more than 12 weeks can actually strip your gut of good bacteria. So like I said, something to use short term. It's not a permanent fix. Supplement number 2 is inositol, and it's probably the most researched supplement specifically for PCOS and PMOS in the literature. Inositol improves insulin signaling at a cellular level. It helps insulin's message get through more effectively, which reduces the amount of insulin your pancreas needs to produce to do the same job. And it also directly affects ovarian function. Research shows that it can improve egg quality and ovulation rates in women with PMOS, which is why it's been studied in the context of fertility as well. Now, there are 2 forms worth knowing about: myo-inositol and D-cryo-inositol. Most of the research uses a combination of the two in a ratio of 40:1, myo to D-cryo, which matches the natural ratio found within the body. So if you're choosing a supplement, make sure to choose one that has a combination of the two, not just one or the other. And I should also note that I will link to some of my favorite brands in the description box down below. Here's how to take it. Before bed is my preference, because inositol also has a calming effect that supports sleep quality. Now, inositol can take a little bit longer to notice the effects compared to berberine. It might take a couple of weeks, maybe even a couple of months. Berberine, the impact is a little bit more obvious and a little bit more immediate, but stick with this one. Inositol is actually a nutrient that your body creates in very small amounts. So this is one you can take long term. And supplement number 3 is omega-3 and vitamin D3. And I'm grouping these together for a reason. They're best understood as a pair, and they're two of the most common deficiencies in women with PMOS. Omega-3 fatty acids, specifically EPA and DHA, reduce systemic inflammation, which is a significant driver of insulin resistance. They also have direct effects on androgen levels, with research showing that supplementation reduces testosterone and improves menstrual regularity in women with PMOS. The key part here is that it's EPA and DHA from marine sources. These are the forms that have the research behind them and will give you these benefits. The omega-3 that's in chia seeds, in flax seeds, in other nuts and seeds, that's ALA. It has to be converted by the body to EPA and DHA. And the body isn't very good at this conversion. So it's better to get EPA and DHA directly. Vitamin D3 is the other piece here. Vitamin D deficiency is disproportionately common in women with PMOS. And there's a bidirectional relationship here. Low vitamin D worsens insulin resistance, and insulin resistance may affect how the body processes vitamin D. So getting your levels up, especially in winter, is worth prioritizing. Now, ideally, you want to get both of these through whole food sources. Fatty fish is the single best source of both EPA and DHA, and sunlight is the ideal vitamin D source. But if you're not eating oily fish regularly, if it's winter or you're not outside very often, the gap between what you need and what you're getting can be significant. But don't worry, there is a supplement option here that gives you the EPA and DHA your body needs, and also a bit of vitamin D3. And even better is that it's not synthetic. It's from a whole food source. I'm talking about whole sardine capsules, so you get the benefits of eating fatty fish without the taste, if it's not your favorite. And as far as I know, Grassland Nutrition is the only company currently making these. They give you EPA and DHA from wild-caught sardines, plus numerous other vitamins and minerals. Now, I've been talking a lot about sardines and their benefits on my channel recently. You might have seen my other video on why I eat them every single day, but even I will admit, they're not my favorite. So on days when I don't eat them, Grassland Nutrition's whole sardine capsules fill in the gaps. I'll put the link to check them out in the description box down below, and you can use code KAIT10 to save 10% off your order. Now, I want to finish off talking about why these 3 supplements work so well together, and not just in isolation. Berberine improves insulin signaling at a cellular level. Inositol improves insulin signaling at a hormonal and ovarian level. And omega-3 and vitamin D reduce the inflammation and deficiency states that make insulin resistance harder to shift. They're addressing the same underlying problem from 3 different angles. And that's why this combination is more effective than any one supplement in isolation. So if you took anything away from this video, it's that PMOS, previously PCOS, is a metabolic condition, and one that can be reversed. You just have to address the root cause: high insulin and insulin resistance. Be smart about your carbs, resistance train 2 to 3 times per week, get enough sleep, manage your stress, and incorporate these 3 supplements if you want to accelerate the process. This isn't about being perfect. It's not about never eating junk food again. It's not about never missing a workout. Be flexible with yourself. Build the habits, build the foundation. It's what you're doing majority of the time, not the minority, that matters. Now, if you haven't seen my previous video on why women on Ozempic and other GLP-1s are suddenly getting pregnant, I'm gonna link that on the screen now. And spoiler alert, in that video, I touch on a bit of what we talked about today, how insulin resistance is at the root of PMOS, but I also talk more about GLP-1s and how they tie in here. I will say they're definitely not necessary, but for some people, they can be the right call. So check that video out next. And if you want to check out any of the supplements I spoke about today, including Grassland Nutrition's whole sardine capsules, those will be linked in the description box down below.